angel coming for to sing his song. I can hear the drumming. He's coming, and it won't be long. Hear the cry across the nations. People wanna be free, yeah. Free to leave the great plantations. Free to be who they want to be. I see it squeaks out freedom, and it won't be long.
Well, hey, everybody, it's Everett with Ohio for Freedom. Good to see some familiar faces on there. And yeah, thanks for the encouragement. And Kathy, thank you for loving the song. Trying desperately to get that finished. I will tell you that here in the state of Ohio, on the 18th and 19th of September, we're going to be doing our first Ohio for Freedom rally. If you're anywhere near, hope you can make it. And this recording project that has been, it was kind of stalled because of this whole pandemic thing. But anyway, I hope to have that finished in the can and available. And I'm sure we're going to sell tens of copies of that collection. But that song, Sweet Sound of Freedom, I just want to have it done and done right. That little bit is okay. But anyway, we're going to get there. Folks, listen, you know, I am not very good at, I mean it when I say it. When I say I'm going to try to be brief. And I'm not always good at being brief. So I'm going to disappoint William here, because William, I'm going to really limit my comments to about this report that was issued on the 3rd of August from the GOP, or the Minority Committee on the Origins of the Woohoo Flu. Woohoo. And I can tell you guys that I would love to spend a whole lot more time on this, researching it, and I would love to spend a lot more time putting a presentation together. It's just that time is at a real premium right now, but I am going to hit some highlights, and I think that I've probably spent more time on it than normal people have. So there are a couple of things in there that were like new information. And what's even more important, or more exciting to me at least than that, for me, it's very exciting that stuff that you and I and others have, you know, first of all, we didn't believe the narrative. And then secondly, we did lots of research. So we found this out, we found that out. And sometimes we would find things out and we weren't sure, but little by little, we would be able to connect dots and feel real sure about something. All the while, at least, you know, I got to admit, in the back of your head, you're always aware of this screaming narrative that the powers that shouldn't be in the CCP and the liberal Democrats want you to feel. So what I'm trying to say here is to read things in an official government document that is like, hello, we, the people, have been there for a long time. It's very, very encouraging nonetheless. So I'm going to just go through a few things with you guys, and I hope it helps you. I really, really do. I'm not going to be able to do as good a job as I'd like to be able to do, but I'm doing the best I can with the time we have. By the way, beginning Monday of next week, we are back to 9 a.m. Posts, and because this is going to be an exciting month, folks. It's going to be an exciting month. So William, stick around, stay tuned, like over the next few days, and there will be some good Trump news. And folks, I'm so tempted to go off on a lot of different directions, but I just want to stay focused. So let me just say here, hi Linda, hi David, hi Robin, hi Sue, hi Kathy, and thanks for tuning in, folks. So here's what I'll say. This report was issued on the 3rd of August. So what was that, 2 days ago? And let me just dive right into Exhibit A. And again, honestly, when you go through this report, it's like you can take a ton of notes, but it's extremely well done. And there's about like 300 footnotes. I can't go through all 300 footnotes, but it's very well put together. So let me just start reading, and you probably can't. I mean, it's on the screen if you can see that, but I'm just going to read. In 2017, a dissertation was submitted to the University of Chinese Academy of Sciences by Xing Leping, a doctoral student working at the Wuhan Institute of Virology, entitled "Reverse Genetic System of Bat SARS-like Coronavirus and Function of Bat." All right. In that dissertation, Xing stated, now this is very important, that he and other WIV, Wuhan Institute of Virology researchers, used this system to, quote, construct an S-gene chimeric recombinant viral infectious BAC clone. Now, if you're not familiar with that word chimeric, that means man-made. It means where you take a virus and you turn it into something that it wasn't. It's human engineered. Construct an S-gene chimeric recombinant viral infectious BAC clone with WIV1 as the backbone, and this is the real thing right here. Pardon me, without leaving any trace sequences. Now let that sink in for a minute, because you'll hear Tony Fauci saying it's impossible that the molecular structure could have been. First of all, Tony, even I know that a molecule is smaller than a cell. So why don't you talk about the atoms, or rather the protons and the neutrons? Here's the thing, folks. What this is saying is, clear back in 2016, the Chinese guys were talking about being able to gain a function, genetically modify a virus, and do so in a way that you couldn't tell that it was genetically modified. So you can't tell the difference from something that they made and something that was naturally occurring. Well, that's kind of, that's big stuff right there, because, just all the different conversations, at least that I've monitored or read, research or whatnot, in fact, I could pull up one. I'm trying to keep this brief, but Ralph Barrick, who I'm going to talk about in just a minute, would say that when he was doing gain of function, he would try to leave a trace in there because he always wants to patent everything he does. So when he makes a killer virus, by golly, he wants to get credit for it. And he wants to be able to say in his patent, see, I put that little hook in there, or that little furin cleavage there, whatever it is, but some kind of trace that you can tell the work that was done by humans. But this is talking about a process by which you can genetically modify something and there's no human trace. Now, I'm not going to pull it up for you, but if you go through this report, it also references Ralph Barrick, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, talking about basically the same thing, and he calls it the no-see-em method. So this is real important, about 2015, Barrick and these Chinese guys were able to, and they went on record and said so, that they were able to make these killer viruses, able to do this gain of function, and do so in a way that it doesn't leave a human trace. So let me keep this moving along. Maybe I'll just pause and see if there's a comment that jumps out at me, and maybe I'll keep. David is so angry. Yeah, folks, we're going to talk about what's up with elections. I can't get sidetracked here. I will definitely lose my train of thought if I had it to begin with. But look, being able to genetically modify viruses and do so in a way that it doesn't leave a trace. So somebody else could look at it, one of these, dorkified virologists, and say, well, that looks pretty natural to me. I really think a bat did bump into somebody in the wet market, and bam, you have a worldwide pandemic. Look at this. If I can get this to, all right, guys, bear with me. I'm having a little bit of an issue. I'm going to get back into this. Come on. There it is. Now let's get over here, and I'm going to share that because I want you to see what these guys are actually saying. Now listen to this. This is from the conclusion of this 60-some page report, and then there's like 20 pages of addendums. It is the opinion of the committee minority staff, based on the preponderance of available information, the documented efforts to obfuscate, hide, destroy evidence, and the lack of physical evidence to the contrary, that SARS-CoV-2, that would be the Wuhan flu, was accidentally released from a Wuhan Institute of Virology laboratory sometime prior to September 12th, 2019. And I mentioned this, a day or two ago. That's bombshell right there. That's the first that anything of this stature, this is the minority committee, has said it was released sometime prior to September 12th, 2019. But keep on reading with me. The virus, which may be natural in origin or the result of genetic manipulation, was likely collected in the identified cave in Yunnan Province, PRC, People's Republic of China. Listen to this. Sometime between 2012 and 2015. Now, does this prove it? And hey, fact checkers out there, fact off. I'm just reading what the report says. I don't know what is or what is not, and I'm not saying what is or what is not. What I am saying is I know how to read, and I'm reading what that report says. So go have a Zuckerberg party, okay? But leave us out of it here. But folks, they're saying it was likely. They're not even saying maybe. They're saying it was likely collected in the identified cave in Yunnan Province, People's Republic of China, sometime between 2012 and 2015. Now, let me be just a wee bit careful here. But folks, if that would be the case, and if you have listened to numerous interviews with Dr. David Martin, you have heard him say this is not a novel coronavirus. Folks, if this is accurate, wouldn't it be safe to assume that this has been sitting on the shelf for a long, 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 long time? If that were true, how many of those people that took place in Event 201 knew about it? How many knew about it? Oh, I think there was a ton of people that didn't know about it, because I actually think a lot of those people sitting at that very table were played. They don't realize they're being played. They're just so insecure that it feeds their ego to be part of that. And I'm thinking about that one young lady that said, last year in Davos, one of the in crowd there. But what I'm trying to say, folks, is this: if this was collected somewhere between 2012, 2015, and you know what? I wonder if I'm going to ask one question here tonight, and I hope I'm not wandering all over the place. How many of you guys buy the original SARS story? That it was from an animal that jumped to a human. I think MERS was the camel. Was SARS a bat or was SARS a goat or whatever? SARS. If you believe it's natural, please type yes. If you believe it was a trial run, please type trial run in there. So let me get back to the screen here. Keep it rolling, because I will definitely wander with the kind of week I've had. But folks, I want you again, they're saying released prior to September 12th, 2019, and the original virus, they probably acquired it sometime between 2012 and 2015. Now, this is what they are wanting to do. This is at the very end of the committee's statement. And if you read up here in the top paragraph, this I love this. Peter Daszak has got no place to hide. I could spend a lot more time talking about Peter Daszak just from this report, but this is a recommendation they're making, and they are referencing that the faux Biden committee of the pretender in chief, the temporary help in chief, he is, so this would be like the majority that's looking into this, but they have to issue a report by August 24th. And I believe that this report puts a lot of pressure on their issuing of their report, but they're making a couple of recommendations. I'll just start reading here. Given the previously detailed inconsistencies and CCP disinformation campaign regarding a possible lab leak, Peter Daszak must be subpoenaed to appear before House Foreign Affairs Committee and Senate Relations Committee as material witness to this investigation. Committee minority staff have attempted on multiple occasions to contact Daszak with a list of questions relevant to this report. He never responded. So over July 4th weekend, I was talking about Tony Fauci, peeing his pants, hiding in the Batcave, afraid of Jim Jordan, and he still is. And if he's appearing before anybody, he's doing it in private. He's doing it in secret. But Peter Daszak is doing the same thing. National Pulse mentioned in a story a couple of weeks ago that Daszak was all ticked off because reporters showed up at his property, at his driveway, and, he's all angry. You have no right to be here. Well, Mr. Daszak, guess what? You're in the news, pal. And you sure love to use the news to your advantage, but now they're after you. But this, we just read that the Senate the minority committee there has made numerous attempts, and he has completely stonewalled them. Now, this surprised me. In contrast, Ralph Barrick provided answers to a list of questions from committee minority staff. Maybe Barrick has had a come to Jesus moment. Maybe Barrick does not want to go down with the ship. He has been cooperative, according to these guys. They say his assistance is appreciated. We believe his testimony would also be helpful. Daszak and Barrick should provide expert testimony, including but not limited to the following. I'm going to go through the questions they want to ask Peter Daszak. What was the extent of genetic manipulation of coronaviruses and their testing against human immune systems at the Wuhan Institute of Virology in 2018 and 2019. Then they want to know who requested the statement of support published in The Lancet. These guys do a great job of going through all the machinations that Peter Daszak did about early January 2020 in response to the CCP saying, do something, do something. Daszak, some of you know this, some of you, maybe you're being brought up to speed. Remember how early in the pandemic, it was like, it was like anathema to suggest that this could be a lab leak or that it could have originated in the lab in Wuhan. And part of that was because of a letter that was published at The Lancet. And that was before the rest of us knew that The Lancet is corrupt as anything else. We thought if it came from the labs, that by golly, it's medical. And Peter Daszak drafted a letter and got as many people to sign on to it as he could, but he didn't want to sign it because he wanted the world to think that it was natural, that it was organic. And he told Ralph Barrick, you don't have to sign this. Now, eventually he did, but what this committee, the subcommittee, is wanting to know, who requested the statement? Because they already know the answer. It's the Chinese Communist Party. Did this request include labeling discussion of possible lab leak as a conspiracy theory? Folks, they're gonna asking these questions, and he's gonna have to answer. What was the nature and content of Wang's call to Daszak in the early hours of February 6th? They go through this phone call that was made to Peter Daszak, where this person by the last name of Wang was saying it might be better if you don't put your name on it, because that way people won't catch on to the fact that it's fake. Why did Daszak make conflicting and apparently false statements regarding the NIH grant terminated in 2020? This report does a really good job from public record of Daszak saying, well, the grant that we were using, it wasn't for gain of function. But then later he turns around and he's on papers with this Xi Li bat lady, and they're taking credit for all their gain of function. And then when the Chinese Communist Party disappears these genome sequences, Daszak comes out with a statement that says, because we don't have access to this, we can't, we don't have access to SARS-CoV-2. Well, if you not having access to SARS-CoV-2 is because they disappeared these genomic sequences, and you don't have the access that you used to, how does that make any sense if you were never involved in gain of function in the first place? I hope I'm not leaving the weeds there. And They want to know, does Daszak have a copy of the Wuhan Institute of Virology's database that was taken offline? Because he's made several statements that would sure make it look like what the Chinese are hiding that he knows. Was Daszak aware the funding he was providing directly supported gain-of-function research by paying for the collection of viruses that the Wuhan Institute of Virology later experimented with, even though the federal government had a moratorium on such research from 2014 to 2017? And then finally, do they believe SARS-CoV-2 could possibly be genetically modified virus created by a similar, and here it is, they make reference to it, system similar to Barrick's no-seum method? That is Barrick's method, where you can make a killer virus, and even qualified virologists looking at it won't be able to tell that it was genetically modified. Now, folks, I'm going to try to steer clear to my words. Any work on Dr. Shi? Well, here's what I'll say. That's a question from William. And William, like I said, if I had more time, I could pull this together, but I will answer that for you. In this report, they document several lies of this Dr. Shi. And I believe you're referring to the Bat Lady, because William, you're not spelling her name correctly. And guess what? I don't know how to spell her name correctly either, but I'll try to list them for you. First of all, and it's probably not in order, but she tries to say that she was never involved, and her and Peter Daszak together were never involved in gain of function. And the report lists publications, papers that were public, where they're bragging about, guess what, gain of function. So they catch her in that lie. And then she also, the other big lie that comes to mind is she, one is that people that got sick, like really, really sick, and maybe even, I don't know if there were fatalities or not, but she says, oh, that's just rumor. Nobody from lab staff ever got sick, but there's public record where she's lying about it. And something else that she lies about that the report documents is she says that this general, W-E-I-N, but it's a Chinese general that is, a medical general, in other words, a biological weapon warfare general, never had any involvement in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And guess what? There are Chinese publications and announcements announcing that this Chinese military general, this general with the CCP, with the People's Liberation Army, took over the Wuhan Institute of Virology. So what I'm trying to say is, and guys, I know I'm kind of brain scattered and everything, but they've got this Bat Lady, this Dr. Shi, they've got her documented as lying. They do a really good job of nailing her to the wall. They do a really good job of nailing Peter Daszak to the wall. And I'm reading, the Bat Lady was the head of the WHO before the barefaced liar that is now. Yeah, I mean, I hear you. And so here's the thing, guys. All I can tell you is I'm not doing the best job of going through this, but I've probably spent more time on it than normal people have. And I'm calling y'all normal and me not. But really, there's so much detail. And it's interesting to go through the detail. But on a broader, like 30,000, foot view, like big picture, the secret's out. The secret is out, and it's all coming out. And Fauci better be peeing in the bat cave. I mean, because he's got something to pee about. Excuse my language. And Daszak's got something to. Yeah, let's get off of that. That goes, I don't like where that goes. Folks, it's very, very encouraging that the truth is coming out. And this puts, once again, it puts pressure on whatever those clowns are doing on faux Biden's side. But they got to come out with something on August 24th. So this video is scatterbrained and all over. So I won't plead with you to share. But what I will plead with you to do is anything related to this report, please share. Please share, please share, please share. And I'm looking at William. You've been thinking about this, man. Double agent. I don't know. And I want to try to say one other thing and get off here. I have, and I'm either going to make sense or I'm going to be a million miles from making sense. I have this conversation with a younger brother of mine who's very, very smart often. And I sometimes feel like my younger brother feels like they and the evil they, that they always walk in lockstep and they're completely coordinated and they never break ranks. I don't happen to believe that. I believe the devil's side, I believe there's infighting all the time. And I believe they stick together until the ship's going down, and they'll throw somebody else overboard as quick as anything if it might save their own hide. The devil's crowd breaks ranks, man. I know the liberal Democrats are really disciplined with sticking with their talking points, but what I'm saying is, and even Fauci, I don't know. I think he's very sinister. But mostly, I just think he's a narcissist. I think he's a sociopathic narcissist, and I think sometimes I don't think Fauci. I think he's evil, honestly, but I don't think he's evil at the point where he's controlling everything. I think he is so narcissistic that somebody way up above finds him very, very easy to play. I believe he's been played. I'm not defending Fauci at all. What I'm saying is I don't think the guy's that smart. I really, really don't. I really don't. And so double agent, not I don't know, but people will turn on each other. They will definitely do that. Folks, I kind of have a sense of when I'm starting to get into just ramble and rant and rave. And I also know when I've told a mistruth and said, I'll try to keep it brief, and it's not brief, and it's 10 after 8. I hope you got something out of that. Please like, please share, please subscribe. Folks, my inbox is just jammed. There's people I want to get back to, but please don't stop sending me stuff. ohioforfreedom@protonmail.com. We'll tune in, check in a couple times for the week's over, but Monday morning we'll be back on a regular schedule at 9 and hopefully bring you some interesting information. But in the meantime, keep the faith, keep the faith, keep the faith, keep the faith, keep the faith. And yes, there's exciting election news. And yes, there's exciting stuff. Arizona, Georgia, Pennsylvania. It's exciting. It's exciting. We are 6 days away from Mike Lindell's Cyber Symposium. I mean, Cuomo is going down in flames, and the truth about this is coming out. One last thing, and I mean it this time, if you are under pressure to undergo anything medical, like you have to do this or you lose your job, if you don't mind sending us some information, I would appreciate it. We're going to try to make some referrals and just try to do what little bit we can to address this, but don't lose hope and don't despair. Stick with your guns, but there's resources out there, and we want to try to make some connections. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. We really, really appreciate it. It gets wearisome sometimes. Don't be weary. Don't be weary. I'm telling you, glory days are ahead. Thank you, Lord, for that. I firmly believe that. And so, folks, until next time, God bless you. God bless your family. God bless this state. And Mike DeWine, I think somebody has smacked his patties. He's like, nope, I'm backing off. I've been dictator long enough. I'm not making excuses.